with us as we come back to you. Now we stay on this topic. Israel's parliament has given initial approval to a bill that could lead to the annexation of the occupied West Bank. The bill, which would apply Israeli law to the region, has passed a preliminary vote in the Knesset by a narrow margin of 25 to 24. Now, the bill was introduced by lawmakers outside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition. This is the first step in a lengthy legislative process that could ultimately integrate the territory into Israel. The vote comes as U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance visits Israel following President Donald Trump's previous opposition to such annexation. In response, Palestine's foreign ministry has condemned Israel's move, stating that Israel has no sovereignty over Palestinian land. The ministry has further reaffirmed that the West Bank, including Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip, are considered a single Palestinian territory under international law. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has also expressed concerns over Israel's new annexation bill. He has further clarified that while Israel is a democracy and has the right to make such decisions, the U.S. does not support this move at this time and believes it could be counterproductive to the Gaza peace process. Let's listen in.
Well, that's a vote in there. Yeah, that's a vote in the Knesset. But obviously, I think the president's made clear that's not something we'd be supportive of right now, and we think it's even threatening to the peace deal. So, they're a democracy. They're going to have their votes. People are going to take these positions. But at this time, it's something that we think it might be counterproductive.
Additionally, Rubio has also discussed the success of diplomatic meetings between U.S. officials and countries in the region, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. Let's listen in.
And I think both Jared and Steve had very positive meetings in both Saudi Arabia and in Qatar and in the UAE, which I think they're going to UAE, very positive meetings with all of our partners in the region about what they're willing to contribute, and countries outside the region as well. We're not ready to announce those, but countries outside the region, including majority Muslim countries outside the region that are prepared to offer things that you really wouldn't have thought they've never done before.
Furthermore, Rubio has stressed the U.S. goal of restoring Palestinian civil authority in Gaza, and this includes establishing a non-Hamas police force to maintain order. According to him, this plan has been agreed upon by international partners. Now we welcome back Sasha Machta. He's a political commentator to our discussion, and Ali Mohammed Abushbak. He's a Middle East researcher from Cairo to our discussion. First, Sasha, now looking back at this topic or this news, is this preliminary Knesset vote on West Bank annexation, is this a symbolic move or a real policy shift? And also, going back to our previous discussion, where is the left-wing representation in Knesset lie now?
So first I'd like to make a small correction to my friend Ali, where he said that the last left-wing government in Israel was in 2008. Actually, in 2021, 2022, we had a broad coalition from the left to the right, including the first Arab party in the Knesset. So I think it's a very important correction to make. And I'd like to say that the left in Israel right now and the right, there's some broad consensus that a Palestinian state is not possible at the moment. We've just been met with the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, and I think that the consensus, even in the more left-wing parties like Yair Golan's Democrat Party, is that as of now there will not be a Palestinian state. Maybe a future pathway is what the left is thinking of now, but I think no one in Israel, after the trauma and pain we've experienced over the past years, is even thinking of a Palestinian state being created, especially not over the hilltops overlooking Tel Aviv, the airport, and all of the center of Israel. That being said, I also don't think that there is room for a peace process right now, as my friend Ali also mentioned. I think that, first of all, there's a process of de-radicalization that must be taken, a process of changing the education system in the Palestinian Authority, changing the values that the Palestinians grew up with. And I think that organizations like UNRWA have just propagated this conflict, and they've educated Palestinians to have this mindset that they're going to continuously be refugees and not seek peace. And I think that this is a main obstacle that we've seen, the education and the radicalization. And unfortunately, the Palestinian Authority's leaders, as well as Hamas, have made every effort possible to keep their people suffering and keep their people as a refugee status to launch an eternal war on the state of Israel. So I'd like to say that first of all. And I think the annexation is pretty much symbolic at the moment. If you actually look at the details, Netanyahu's party actually didn't vote for it. Only one member of Knesset from Netanyahu's party voted. And Bibi even made his party boycott this vote. So we see that this is more of a symbolic action than a policy shift and a policy on the ground. But what it does shift is we see that Israel is also going to have to take unilateral measures. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I don't think it will happen. It's just symbolic. But we saw that European countries took reckless actions in recognizing a Palestinian state in the middle of the war as a reward for Hamas. And Israel, of course, was going to meet this with a reaction. And I think it's only natural for some people and some parties in Israel to feel pushed by the world and to take drastic decisions. But yes, I agree that it's just something symbolic. And I'd like to also make the point that we're lucky that in Israel this vote's even allowed to happen, because I think it's the only country in the Middle East where there's the possibility of having a democratic vote for even a symbolic action. And I think that's the strength of the country.
Yes.
So if we're going to talk bad about one of Israel's votes, we should also acknowledge that it's the only place in the region where this kind of vote would even be able to happen. And I'm proud that I live in a democracy, and I hope that my Palestinian neighbors will also be able to have a democracy and a de-radicalized society and a demilitarized society and be able to live in peace and not live under continuous misery.
Yes,
So
Sasha,
thanks.
thank you for sharing that. Ali, I would like to welcome you back to this discussion. Building on Sasha's answer, as this could be primarily just a symbolic decision, how do you see this move? And what do you think if a U.S., since we know U.S. opposes this, and many Arab countries as well do you think anyone would be able to stop this moving further?
First of all, Israel doesn't give an attention for the international community reaction and for the violating the international law, because as you know, in the resolution 2334, the United Nations Security Council in 2016, they considered the Israelis' settlement in West Bank, it's illegal. And up to now, since 2016 up to now, how many settlement units Israel have been built and established? So also about the annexation in 2018, the first term of Donald Trump, he welcomed that. Donald Trump, one of his peace plan, it was the annexation. And also, I guess it's not a symbolic, because Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, I will not set the Palestinian establishing their statehood. So this is one of the challenging and one of the barriers that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to do to prohibit the Palestinians to establish their statehood. So I guess either it's a symbolic, or if they are going to do it, because Israel, as you know, it's acting with an impunity, with the punishment, and as above the international community and international law. So it doesn't care about its perspective. And we have seen how much damage its perspective during the war in Gaza. And still, Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to manipulate the Israeli community. So the thing is, either it's, as I mentioned, it will be a symbolic, or it will be an action that also catastrophe for the Palestinian statehood, and it will make the peace process between Palestinian and Israel more worse than before. And it will, I mean, I don't know if there is action, there is reaction. If Benjamin Netanyahu, what they are, thinking that the Palestinian in West Bank, they will wait and will give them flour for this kind of action, and they will resist, obviously, and that's will escalate the violence between Palestinian and Israel. And again, Benjamin Netanyahu and his Israeli media machine, they will start blaming Palestinian why they resist. I don't know, the international law, they are protected the resistance for the civilians who's under occupation, except in Palestinian case, it's prohibited. Israel has the only right to defend itself. But the people who's under occupation should be accept whatever. I don't know the double standard with this community, and we have seen that disbelief in this kind of rule. It's just only make to be
Yes.
fit with some country and
Yes.
to be against some other country.
Yes. Yes.
So
Ali.
this is ridiculous, and I don't know how the world observe such kind of action on the ground.
Yes,
Yeah,
Ali.
also.
Thank you very much to both our guests for joining us and sharing that insight. Now we stay on this topic. The International Court of